how can misalignment of the pelvis and ribcage contribute to IBS and other gastrointestinal issues?
Yeah. Okay. 100%. It's a huge issue, and the research just isn't out there. I've never seen it. Okay, so you have your pelvis. I've mentioned that your pelvic alignment is dependent on the supports coming up from your feet and your lower leg bones. 100%. Yeah. Never try and realign your pelvis if you have not started from the feet and understanding the foot mechanics, because you could actually damage your hip joints or put a lot of pressure under. But in this incredible pelvic bowl, supported by these incredible bones coming up from the ground, yeah, you have part of it, well, the end of your digestive system and tract.
Mhm.
Okay. In your rib cage, well, really the digestive tract starts in the skull because it's going through the mouth, down through the throat, yeah, through the esophagus. So it's starting all the way up there. So I would have to include the skull as well in this relationship, because the three of them work together and are attached to the spine. Yeah. But the moment your rib cage is out of alignment, be it in sagittal plane, the backwards and forwards, frontal plane, like one side further up than the other, or transverse plane in a rotation, your digestive tract is bang right in the middle of that. Okay. And if you are out of alignment, which the majority of people are, okay, imagine a kink in a hose. Okay. You use a hose, something of pressure just goes against it, it's just pulled out. And very often the water just stops.
Yep.
Yeah. The flow just stops.
Yes.
This is what's going on. It's that simple. And then we have the organs, obviously, we have all the digestive tract. And the moment you have a misalignment, okay, these organs and this tract, it's under too much pressure. It's compressed. And people are locked into these alignments. Okay. And then they're taking medicine, they're eating this fad diet, that fad diet. I mean, don't get me wrong, I am a trained systematic kinesiologist. Yeah, I have a good foundation in systematic kinesiology. I am the first one to say you need to check this these different levels of nutrition. However, it's like, hang on, hang on, hang on. Before we do that, before we start checking in with your absorption, yeah, and with all of your nutritional levels, let's just check out the machinery.
Mhm.
Let's make sure that the actual system has space and is aligned correctly to absorb and process. So the relationship between the rib cage and the pelvis is absolutely extraordinarily important. It is the container. Okay. Most people, especially once we bring in the sympathetic or parasympathetic responses, most people who have digestive disorders have a structural misalignment. And it's a bit chicken and egg. Did the digestive disorder come because of the structural misalignment, or was which was due to a physical movement or activity, or was there an emotional trauma where literally the body collapsed or moved out of alignment, then became numb, which is what it does. I call it physiological amnesia. Yeah. And then there's a total disconnect with the digestive system. I mean, it is so real. And we have many case studies where, it almost seems too simple to be true, because again,
Mhm.
medically, no one's talking about this.
Yep. That's a challenge right now in the medical, industry, and a lot of things which can be very easily catered to with simple, processes. It's being complicated, and it's a very subjective topic. We can, discuss it some other time. But yeah, getting on to one point is, can you share some practical exercises or techniques that individuals can use, to improve the alignment and support their digestive wellness?
Okay, so I'm going to be brutally honest here and say no, I will refuse to show people how to realign their pelvis and their rib cage until they've got a good foundation in their feet.
Hmm.
Because if there is an emotional reason for emotion, energy and motion, for that
Yeah.
misalignment. Yeah. If you go in there and you start working with that and you have not sorted out the very foundation to create a feeling of safety, support, so that pelvis can realign, you
Hmm.
can cause havoc. You can totally re-traumatize an individual. And this is where, with my practitioner training, it's actually a 2-year training. I mean, we can take someone through this process in 7 weeks. Okay. So, and 7 weeks compared to years of pain or the rest of your life, yeah, is nothing. Right.
Yeah.
It's the quickest fast track process. But in terms of sitting here and going, oh yeah, just do this, do that, it would be utterly irresponsible and misinformed and not ethical. I can't do that. What I am willing to do is to give an experience of coming into the feet and the bones in the feet, because that is where, that's where we begin.
Amazing, amazing. I believe you also host Facebook Live sessions where you help people in your group and community to experience these on a weekly basis. So, how can our listeners get access to that?
Yes, absolutely. So what we do is we have a community, yeah, where we have all our training practitioners and we have, lots of members of the community and visitors, because one of the issues with our health and our body is trust and feeling safe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just listening to me on a podcast going on and on like some crazy woman who's talking about biomechanics is not sufficient.
Mhm.
What you
Agree.
need to do, the autonomic nervous system, what needs to happen for you is that you can visit, you can drop in, you can check this out. Your nervous system can kind of start to work this out. Is this something that feels safe to me? Does this make sense? Is this something I'd like to experiment with? So, one of the amazing things I have done, and it was always my vision, is to create a beautiful community. We call it the Aanya Wellness community. And so we invite you, anyone listening to this, yeah, we don't want you to believe what we say. We want you to experience what we do, and so that you can say it for yourself. And you are invited. We invite everyone to drop in for 2 free sessions. Yes, as you said, we have all of the sessions. We have training practitioners, and it's wonderful. It's a wonderful community. So absolutely, and obviously we'll put details as to how people can come along to experience this for themselves. And then if they choose to, we then suggest, this is a program for the rest of your life to realign and educate yourself. We then, have lots of people come through what we call our VIP program. Okay. And so then what they do over a period of 7 weeks, as I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, week one, the feet, we teach you how to activate and align your feet correctly, so that then in week two, you can begin to move your pelvis correctly, which, by the way, at that point, digestive stuff will start to, you know,
Mhm.
I can't claim anything, but could, based on the evidence, a lot of it start to resolve. Week three, we're looking at the spine and we're looking at the psoas muscle. This stabilizes the pelvis even more. And at this point, most people start going, oh my God, I don't know if it's got anything to do with it, Victoria, but guess what? I'm like, yes, I know. It's
Amazing.
like they'll be like, this is a coincidence. Week four, we start coming into the rib cage. Yeah. So people are going on this journey into their body. And especially with the rib cage, people are just stunned because they've never tried to move their rib cage in isolation. They'll always use their head moving with their rib cage or their pelvis moving with their rib cage. So they start to get this extraordinary experience of their body. And then the next week, we take them into the power of their shoulder blades. People have no sense of this, but that opens up everything. So they're coming on this journey. We take them on a well-trodden road through their body, and we end up in week 7 getting them into the jaw. And most people at that point will feel how what they do with their jaw impacts what's happening in their feet. Okay, they will have an experience of their mechanics, and for most people they're just like, I can't believe I didn't know this. We'll get the, why did my doctor never tell me this? How did my yoga practitioner not know this? Why did my physio not know this? You know, it's, and so I have doctors training with me. I have, you know, yoga teachers training with me. I have acupuncturists training with me. I mean, it's very humbling to me that that is what's going on. And you, whoever you are listening to this right now, are invited to come visit and see for yourself. Please don't take what I say as real, experience it, and you tell me if it's real for you. Yeah.
That's good. Thanks a lot for extending that invite to our listeners. And would like to conclude this podcast with a success story to be shared by you of any of your customers who have overcome IBS through biomechanics or realignment of their pelvis and ribcage.
Yeah. Okay. I had one client and she was referred to me by someone else. Okay. She was at rock bottom. This woman she'd had a very bad back accident. She was in bed for 10 years paralyzed, right? She was addicted to kind of morphine type drugs. I mean, it was horrendous. By the time she came to me, she was also an addict because, you know, similar story, right? We're trying to manage pain, so we end up doing very often all the wrong things. By the time she came to me, she could only eat 5 foods. And she came to me because she also knew I was a systematic kinesiologist and she thought that might help. I had to say to her, listen, I could do all of that. We can muscle test you for sure. And we're going to come up with all kinds of issues of things you can't eat. But I'm telling you, we need to sort out your container. And she was like, what are you talking about? I'm like, we need to stabilize what the system is in so it can actually work correctly. Now, this was like completely news to her. Within 3 weeks, this woman who'd been down to 3 foods and such chronic pain could eat anything she wanted. It's literally, is your system switched on or is it switched on? Right? Is it aligned correctly so it can function very simply, or is it not?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So, and that is the story. I mean, that lady, you know, sometimes these people come and go because they will literally forget what their life was like when they were so ill because the new version of them switched on is just too busy. They're living their lives. You know, I'm sorry if you can hear my dog, he's going bonkers.
that's
Um,
fine.
yeah, and you know she's one of many, and it will be. I don't know if this is because no, with her there was no question. She was like, I cannot believe that sorting my feet out and doing that with my legs and my pelvis was all I needed to do, you know. And with others where it's more subtle, their response might be, well, I don't know if it's because, but you know, we know.
Yeah. And thanks a lot, Victoria, for sharing this amazing success story with our listeners out there. And listeners, please do go and try 2 sessions that Victoria has very generously offered to all our listeners to attend and experience biomechanics with her. Trust me, it's gonna help you out. Thanks a lot, Victoria, for being here.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
And listeners, we will have all the links shared with you in the description below. And if you have any queries, please feel free to reach out to us on the comment or DM. Thank you.